This is the horrifying moment police uncovered the decomposing remains of 54-year-old Maria Evelyn Sayos, buried beneath the kitchen floor of her own home. For 4 years, her family believed she had simply packed up and left, running off to Singapore to take a break from everything. They had no reason to question it. After all, she was still active on Facebook. She sent birthday wishes, updated her profile picture, and even responded to messages from loved ones. But it was all a lie. The woman they thought was alive and well had been dead the entire time, her body rotting just beneath their feet. And the most gut-wrenching part? The person responsible for her brutal murder wasn't a stranger. It was someone she had loved and cared for. What could push a daughter to take her own mother's life? How did a family go years without realizing they were living above a grave? This case is both tragic and chilling, a grim reminder that the worst betrayals often come from those we least expect. But to understand how everything happened, let's go back to where it all began. Maria Evelyn Sayos was a hardworking mother from Dasmariñas, Philippines. Life hadn't been easy for her, especially after losing her second husband in 2011. But if there was one thing Evelyn was sure of, it was that she would do whatever it took to provide for her children, Michael and Joanna Marie. She wasn't just going to be their mother, she was going to be their father too. She loved them more than anything. Her parenting style? A mix of warmth and discipline, the kind of tough love many Asian mothers swear by. She didn't just want what was good for her kids, she wanted the best. And for a while, things were good. They were a happy family. But in 2014, something shifted. Joanna started acting out, running wild with little care for the consequences. And then, at just 16 years old, she got pregnant. The father? A guy named Ronald James Rubi, 4 years older and nowhere near ready to be a parent himself. Evelyn was hurt and disappointed. She had wanted so much more for her daughter, but at the same time, she loved her, and she loved her grandchild. So, she did what any devoted mother would do. She embraced the situation. She welcomed Ronald into their home, treating him like a son. She provided for them, helped with the baby, even guided them through their rocky relationship. She carried the weight of their new little family on her shoulders. But soon, she started noticing something. Joanna and Ronald weren't even trying. They weren't looking for work. They weren't helping around the house. Evelyn, the sole provider, was feeding them, sheltering them, caring for their child, while they did nothing. And of course, she didn't stay quiet about it. She reminded them, over and over, that they needed to take responsibility, that they were parents now, that it was time to grow up. Most people would take that as tough love, a wake-up call, but Joanna and Ronald saw it as something else, nagging. Funny enough, Joanna still acknowledged her mother's sacrifices, at least on social media. But even in those posts, there was an undertone of entitlement, a casual expectation that Evelyn would always be there, always providing, always putting them first. On Mother's Day in 2016, Joanna wrote, "Hi Ma, happy Mother's Day. And to me too. Haha, wishing you all the best. Thank you for being both a mother and father to me, Kuya and Johan. Yee. Sorry for everything. You know what I mean. There's a lot. Haha. No matter what happens, I love you. P.S. Don't forget my birthday. You know what to do." Then, on June 8th, her birthday, she posted, "Wee! Happy birthday, Joanna. Thank you to my beautiful Mevelyn Wong Sayoslin for the new phone, Baby Oppo F1. The other gifts will be given another day. Haha. Just kidding. Love you, Ma." In another post on August 8th, 2016, she wished her mother a happy birthday, writing, "Happy birthday, Ma. Are my treats for you okay? You look sexy there. I love you." Then, in the comments, there was a response from her mother's Facebook, saying, "Thanks, dear. Love these." That same day, she shared a photo of her younger days together with her mother and her father, captioning it, "I miss it." Publicly, it was all love, gratitude, and playful teasing. But behind the scenes, the tension at home was reaching a boiling point. By August 2016, Evelyn's reminders, her pleas, didn't just annoy Joanna and Ronald, they enraged them. And as that resentment festered, it twisted into something darker, something unspeakable, something no one saw coming. On August 15th, Evelyn's son, Michael, asked for permission to sleep over at a classmate's house to finish their thesis. Like any loving mother, she agreed, even giving him some pocket money before he left. As he walked out the door, he told Joanna and Ronald to take care of their mother. He had no idea it would be the last time he'd ever see her alive. When Michael returned home 2 days later, something felt off. The house was quiet. His mother was nowhere to be found. Confused, he turned to Joanna, asking where she was. Joanna's answer? She left. She claimed that after a heated argument, Evelyn had decided to run off to Singapore to stay with a friend. She needed a break, some time away from them. But that didn't make sense. Evelyn wasn't the type to just disappear, especially not without telling Michael. And yet, despite the nagging doubt clawing at his mind, he wanted to believe his sister. Because why would she lie about something like that? Besides, messages from Evelyn's social media kept coming in. Short, casual updates. A birthday message, enough to make it seem like she was still out there, just taking time for herself. So, despite the unease, Michael pushed the doubts aside. He told himself she'd be back soon. But the days dragged on. Then weeks. Then months. And still, no sign of Evelyn. Michael tried to ignore the unsettling feeling that crept in every time he thought about his mother's sudden departure. He told himself she needed space. That maybe she really had gone to Singapore to clear her mind. But deep down, something wasn't sitting right. Evelyn was the kind of mother who always checked in, who never left Michael in the dark about her whereabouts. If she had really left, why hadn't she told him herself? Why had she only communicated through short, impersonal messages? At first, the texts and social media posts were enough to keep his worries at bay. Joanna would casually mention their mother's supposed life in Singapore, adding small details that made it sound convincing. But as time went on, those details never added up. Whenever Michael or other family members asked for specifics, where exactly Evelyn was staying, how she was making a living, or even if they could speak to her on the phone, Joanna's answers were always vague. She's busy, she doesn't have time right now, she'll call when she can. It wasn't just the lack of a video call or recent photos. It was the way the messages themselves felt. Off, too brief, too robotic. It wasn't how Evelyn normally spoke. Then, the biggest red flag of them all, there was no record of Evelyn leaving the country. Her passport was missing, but that didn't mean she had used it. Michael searched for proof, anything to confirm that his mother had truly gone to Singapore, but there was nothing. No flight records, no immigration stamps, no bank transactions from another country. It was as if she had vanished into thin air, and yet, Joanna didn't seem worried. If anything, she dismissed his concerns, reassuring him that Evelyn just needed time. By 2018, nearly 2 years had passed since Evelyn had supposedly left. The doubt that had been festering inside him had grown into full-blown fear. He started asking around, reaching out to family, friends, anyone who might know something. Then, he decided to go straight to the source. Michael tracked down the friend Joanna claimed Evelyn had been staying with in Singapore. But when he spoke to her, the response sent a chill down his spine. She had no idea what he was talking about. Evelyn had never been to Singapore. That was the moment it all came crashing down. Joanna had lied. And if she had lied about that, what else was she hiding? The realization left Michael reeling. He couldn't understand why his sister wasn't panicked, why she wasn't as desperate as he was to find their mother. But there was no more room for doubt. Something terrible had happened. On September 7th, 2018, 2 whole years after Evelyn went missing, Michael finally did what he should have done from the start. He went to the police and filed a missing person report. At first, the authorities weren't too concerned. Evelyn was an adult, and it wasn't unheard of for people to leave their families behind. They assumed it was a personal decision, not a crime. No immediate action was taken. The case remained low on their priority list. But then, in June 2020, everything changed. A discovery was made, one that would shake the entire country, and the horrifying truth about Evelyn's disappearance was finally about to come to light. Michael had always felt a strange unease in his mother's house, but it wasn't until he decided to renovate the kitchen that things took a truly disturbing turn. At first, it was just a faint odor, something unpleasant, but easily dismissed as a side effect of construction work. He assumed it was rotting wood or old pipes. But as the days passed, the stench only grew stronger, thickening the air with something far worse. It clung to his clothes, seeped into his skin, and settled deep in his gut. No matter how much he tried to ignore it, something told him this wasn't normal. Then, the discovery came. As workers dug deeper beneath the kitchen floor, their tools struck something unexpected. What they found wasn't just old debris, it was personal belongings, buried beneath layers of concrete. A wallet, an ID, a passport, and an ATM card. Michael stepped forward, his hands shaking as he picked up the items. His heart pounded in his chest as he read the name on the documents. Maria Evelyn Sayos, his mother. A wave of dread crashed over him. These were her things, hidden beneath the very foundation of their home. His breath hitched as a terrifying thought took root in his mind. If these were here, then where was she? He wanted to keep digging, but fear paralyzed him. What if he found something he wasn't ready to see? What if he uncovered a truth too horrifying to face? The weight of the unknown settled over him like a suffocating fog. By morning, fear had turned to desperation. He couldn't ignore this any longer. He called the police. When officers arrived, they were skeptical at first. After all, Evelyn was an adult. Maybe she had simply left and not told anyone. But as they surveyed the scene, the foul stench in the air made them reconsider. Something wasn't right. The digging resumed, this time with a much darker purpose. The workers and officers chipped away at the ground, deeper and deeper, until they struck something solid, an unfinished septic tank hidden beneath the house. The moment they cracked it open, the smell that erupted was unbearable. It was the rancid, unmistakable stench of death. And then they saw her, a lifeless body, curled up inside, decomposed beyond recognition. The police immediately secured the scene, while paramedics arrived to carefully remove the remains. The horror of the situation settled over Michael like a crushing weight. His mother had been here the entire time, buried beneath the home where her children had continued to live. An autopsy at the PNP Regional Crime Laboratory confirmed the worst. Evelyn hadn't just died, she had been brutally murdered. Wounds riddled her body, her neck slashed, her skull fractured from blunt force trauma. She had fought, but whoever had done this had ensured she wouldn't survive. A DNA test was conducted to erase any lingering doubts, and when the results came in, Michael's world shattered. The woman they had believed was in Singapore had been dead for 4 years, buried beneath their feet. All eyes turned to the two people who had insisted, over and over, that Evelyn was alive and well in Singapore. Joanna and her boyfriend, Ronald. Their story had unraveled, the lies exposed, and now there was nowhere left to hide. On July 23, 2020, the police wasted no time in arresting the couple under suspicion of murder. Taken into custody at the Dasmariñas City Police Station, Joanna and Ronald were interrogated relentlessly. The evidence was damning. They had lived in that house the entire time. They had been the last ones to see Evelyn alive. There was no way they could have hidden the truth forever. Under the weight of questioning, the cracks began to show. Joanna, pale and shaking, sat in silence for what felt like hours before she finally broke down. And when she spoke, the truth that spilled from her lips was more horrifying than anyone had imagined. She had killed her own mother, and Ronald had helped her do it. The motive behind the crime was tangled in resentment and deep-seated hatred. Evelyn had taken Joanna and Ronald in, supported them. Even after Joanna's unexpected pregnancy, she had provided for them, fed them, housed them, all while they refused to get jobs, refused to contribute. But rather than be grateful, Ronald grew to despise Evelyn. He saw her constant reminders, the scolding, the nagging, as an attack. He resented her for expecting them to take responsibility for their own lives. He hated her for pointing out their failures. And so, he planted the seed of hatred in Joanna's mind, twisting her frustrations into something far darker. Months passed, and the resentment festered, until, in August 2016, the very month of Evelyn's birthday, they finally decided it was time. The plan was set. Joanna lured her mother down the stairs, calling out that she had a surprise for her. Evelyn, completely unaware of the danger lurking below, walked down calmly, expecting nothing out of the ordinary. But at the bottom of the stairs, Ronald was waiting, a hammer in his hand. The moment Evelyn stepped off the last step, Ronald swung with all his strength. The heavy metal crashed into her skull with a sickening crack. Evelyn let out a pained grunt and crumpled to the floor, blood spilling onto the tiles. But it wasn't enough. She was still alive. Joanna, the daughter she had raised and loved, then took a knife and drove it into her mother's chest, again and again, 5 times, then twice more in the neck. Evelyn fought, desperate to live, but the two of them overpowered her. Her own daughter silenced her screams. When it was over, and Evelyn's lifeless body lay in a pool of blood, they knew they had to get rid of the evidence. Their solution? The unfinished septic tank beneath their home. They dragged Evelyn's lifeless body down to the pit, her limbs limp, her once warm presence reduced to something they saw as an inconvenience. Without hesitation, they shoved her into the stagnant water, her body disappearing into the darkness. Then, they got to work, ordering gravel, sand, and cement. Ronald mixed the materials, his hands dirty with both sweat and sin, sealing her away beneath layers of concrete. They believed it was over. They thought they had buried their secret forever, but death has a way of refusing to be silenced. Days passed, then weeks, and soon, nature took over. Trapped in that airless pit, Evelyn's body started to decompose. The gases built up, the skin broke down, and before long, a foul, sickening stench began seeping through the cracks. It clung to the air, thick and rotten, impossible to ignore. Neighbors noticed and started asking questions. Ronald panicked. Every time the smell got worse, he was outside, desperately mixing fresh cement, slapping on new layers, trying to trap the odor beneath the ground. But no matter how much he covered it up, the truth kept creeping through. Joanna, on the other hand, had a different plan. While Ronald fought to keep the physical evidence buried, she made sure no one questioned Evelyn's disappearance. She became Evelyn. Logging into her mother's Facebook account, Joanna carefully crafted a fake online presence. She posted updates, replied to messages, and even wrote herself a birthday greeting, pretending to be the very woman she had murdered. And for a while, it worked. As long as Evelyn's account was active, no one thought twice about where she really was. No one suspected a thing, but nothing stays hidden forever. The most chilling moment, that birthday post. The same month Evelyn was murdered, Joanna typed out a cheerful birthday message from her mother's account, acting like everything was fine. Looking back, that was the moment that sent chills down everyone's spine. The proof of just how far she was willing to go to keep up the lie. For 4 years, they got away with it. But when Michael uncovered the truth, when the cement could no longer hold back the horror, their web of lies finally unraveled. Interestingly enough, despite everything they did together, Joanna and Ronald didn't even stay together. By 2019, their twisted partnership had crumbled, and they went their separate ways. Ronald, of course, denied everything and claimed he had no idea what Joanna was talking about, distancing himself from the crime. But in the end, the truth spoke louder than his denials. Ronald was charged with murder, while Joanna faced parricide charges for the unthinkable act of killing her own mother. As of March 2025, there haven't been any major updates on the case, but hopefully, justice will be served, and both of them will receive the punishment they truly deserve. So, what are your thoughts on this disturbing case? Do you think justice will be served, or do they deserve an even harsher punishment for what they did? Let me know in the comments. And if you thought this case was shocking, trust me, there's plenty more where that came from. Check out our other videos for more true crime stories that will leave you speechless. Before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. You won't want to miss what's coming next.